test. Where is my, there it is. Test, test, test. Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lines up.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Corey Thompson.
I'm meteorologist Camille Dinka.
And we are here with you to do some extra streaming coverage of storms as they move into eastern Iowa. There is a tornado watch in effect for parts of the area, very few counties, a couple of warnings in effect for Marshall County, which we'll break down in just a little bit. Still don't think that we're going to see a ton of severe weather in eastern Iowa tonight, but enough that we certainly want you to watch and be aware.
Yeah, definitely going to feel like it's going to replicate a little bit of what happened last night, kind of hitting the I-35 boundary and then kind of starting to dissipate as it heads into eastern Iowa. Just not a super favorable environment happening across our viewing area for those storms to kind of initiate potential for that tornadic activity, damaging winds, large hail. That's not what we're going to be seeing tonight potentially.
Yeah, for sure. But enough within the next couple of hours to bring you up to speed. So let's get started. A tornado watch in effect for the counties highlighted in yellow. These were added to a tornado watch that was already in place. It goes until 10 o'clock tonight. The rest of the TV9 viewing area not included in a watch at this time. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can let your guard down. It's just the progression of these storms for now keeps them, at least the severe aspect, within these counties within the next couple of hours. Let's take a look at pinpoint Doppler radar. These are moving in from central Iowa. And if you look off to the southwest, storms extend all the way down into eastern Kansas with warnings basically all up and down except for in far southern Iowa. But at the moment, the storm of the hour is northeast of Des Moines. So let's pinpoint that. There are two warnings in effect for Marshall County and as well as Jasper and some other portions of the surrounding counties. This one is a tornado warning that goes until 9 o'clock. It's for an area of embedded circulation that is just southwest of Baxter. That's going to be moving to the northeast. You can see it's kind of within a line of storm activity. Could be some gusty winds with this as well. The original severe thunderstorm warning surrounding it was issued for that and the potential of some small or maybe up to quarter-sized hail. But the immediate concern is the area of rotation that is, again, relatively near Baxter. So the speed with this storm was moving 50, just want to double check, 45, so about the same. We'll check and see where we're talking about in terms of the latest. Moving to the northeast. And so that takes it close to, well, you're starting to get into Marshall County areas around Ferguson at 8:46. Marshalltown, probably a pretty close call for the Marshalltown area. It's going to be pretty close. So that gets there about 8:49. LeGrand at 8:55 and Montour at about 8:57. And so, yeah, it's going to be moving northeast through the southeastern half of Marshall County as it does. Still, at this point, no reports of tornado. I don't think we've seen any reports anywhere in Iowa so far tonight, and maybe in far southern Iowa. I'm not sure about that.
Yes. They had a few times where emergency managers said that there was up and down tornadoes, but I don't remember exactly off the top of my head if that was in Iowa specifically or if that was across Missouri with those warnings that were there previously.
Yeah, there's been quite a few bouncing back and forth, so you're right. And of course, we're still thinking about last night's storms and some of the damage those caused too. So let's take a look at velocity real quick, see where we stand with that. There have been little embedded areas of rotation. One of them is, again, located pretty close to Baxter. So we'll pan here. It's this area. Reds and greens meet, right? That's what we try to explain every once in a while. It's this area just near Baxter that's showing up. It is, again, embedded within rain and would be moving off to the northeast as it does. So we're talking about mostly rural parts of, this is Jasper County, the Baxter's in, but southern Marshall County as well, west of Laurel, south of Haverhill, probably southeast of Melbourne, but you're involved in that warning too. So everybody that's involved, you know the drill. Let's review it though in terms of what to do when a tornado warning is in effect for your area. That is to get to the lowest level of your home, get under something sturdy, bed, desk, workbench, any of the above always helps. Get something to protect your head, blankets, pillows, towels, bike helmet. In a real pinch, you can use a large pot or pan.
Yeah.
I mean, we've encouraged that before. It sounds kind of silly, but if things are happening in your immediate area, it's going to be better than not. Avoid windows and doors and outside walls. Remember, if you don't have a basement, the most interior room is your best bet. Try to put as many walls between you and the outside. We see time and time again when storms or homes get hit by tornadoes, it's the outside walls that fail first, the roof that fails first, outside walls, and then moving in from there. So inside room protects you from many, many of these. So that is the best bet there. Camille, what are you looking at?
Currently looking at how much lightning there is with these storms. It's quite a lot. There's so much that is actually starting to block out some of those warnings that we're seeing. I'll put on, let's see here if I can find what I'm looking for, our strike count here, just so we can kind of get an idea. Across Iowa, seeing a little over 2,000 strikes currently happening within the last 5 minutes is what the strike count is looking at, right? Mm-hmm. About 5 minutes. So that is quite a bit of lightning. That means that these storms do have a significant amount of energy attached to them. So something that we are watching with these storms is just how much lightning they do end up producing. If you take a look at that specific cell that has that warning attached to it, yeah, quite a bit of lightning still in that one, about 400 strikes, a little more than that. So again, plenty of energy happening within these storms, though, again, like we had talked about, they're crossing the I-35 boundary and the atmosphere is just not really going to be continuing to be capable of this rotation potentially, or more hail. Not really going to be seeing that. These warnings don't really show a lot of hail. We've only had reports of pea-sized hail from emergency managers, so that's not really a concern with these storms. Winds likely through the rest of the overnight hours is really going to just be that main concern.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case, and we may continue to see these storms tend to weaken a little bit, but like you said, with that lightning indication, that really is a good sign that these storms still are very strong, and they haven't really dropped off, at least in that measurement, all that much.
Truly, yes.
And that's a really good way to keep an eye on things, kind of one of the many different ways you can kind of assess whether storms are strengthening or weakening. So let's take a look down the line here. Now there's several areas where there are no warnings in effect. It's that one tornado warning for southern Marshall County. But you can kind of see when you're talking about a line of storms and looking for rotation in it, you're looking for anything that suggests a little bit of a hook. And so you've got this here and a little bit of this here and a little bit of this here. And so there's just little areas of rotation along the leading edge of these storms. And none of these have warnings on them. The National Weather Service in Des Moines is, of course, keeping a close eye on them, but just that there's a little something here and there across a good portion of these lines of storms. And if you put that on and just take a look at it from a broad perspective, You can see those little areas of rotation that are all up and down the line. Nothing that looks imminently dangerous at this point, other than the one that's within the tornado warning. That's kind of been the one that's looked the most significant all night. And you can see it's still located pretty close to Baxter, sort of this area here. So the folks in Baxter still would be the folks next up. And then going up the line, we've got those areas that are, again, mostly rural southern Marshall County. You take it up toward Van Cleve, Melbourne, Haverhill, Laurel, Ferguson, and then you get close to Highway 30, which puts you into the very southern edge of Marshalltown, which then, of course, goes up along Highway 14. So areas to watch. The area of circulation, I'd say, is probably not looking as menacing as it once did, which hopefully we can keep that going. Any sort of weakening of it would be a good thing. But it is still the area that we are watching. And that's why we've still got those areas included in that tornado watch until 10 o'clock. This warning goes until 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that tornado watch, only county that is within the KCRG viewing area is Tama County. There are a few counties just to the west and south of there that are included in that warning as well. But again, the only warning or watch, for a tornado watch is going to go until 10 o'clock across Tama. We'll see how, if they end up extending it. They've kind of been doing it as they have higher confidence that the environment is going to be able to have that rotation within it. And so they just haven't been issuing a whole lot of watches ahead of these storms at this point. That's just how the Storm Prediction Center is ending up taking these storms, is kind of the same considerations of just making sure that they have confidence that these warnings will end up, or watches end up actually coming to fruition, or there's something to look for in them.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see the latest scan from the next-red radar off in portions. It's in Polk County, so National Weather Service Des Moines. You can see there's still some broad, vague rotation, but it's not even as tight as it was just a few scans ago. So I'll go back in time a little bit. And this is from 8/16. You can see that area of rotation much more clearly defined, but if we go forward a little bit, you're down toward something that's spreading out a little bit. Good news, again, if we're looking to get rid of those areas of rotation, which would be great there. Now, if there are questions that viewers have, part of the beauty of streaming is that you do have a way to reach out to us. You can get in touch with us on the KCRG YouTube channel. That's a good way to do it, the live chat there. We've got it pulled up, and so we are going to keep an eye on it. You can't see it on the stream itself, but that live chat there, we're going to try to answer some questions if you may have any. If not, just of course enjoy the information that we provide. Hopefully these storms will just kind of weaken and play themselves out, and we can move on with our evenings. But for now, it's that line of storms that's approaching from the southwest. So far, Mark says, thanks for both of us, me and Camille, for our input. Happy to do it, Mark. Linda says, any tornadoes in Creston, Iowa? Creston, I believe, is down this way. At this point, Creston is clear of really the biggest severe weather threat, it appears. More showers, more storms. They're seeing plenty of lightning down that way. But the heaviest storms have stayed to the south, which is good news there. But you can see a ton of lightning just south of there. So they're probably hearing it, perhaps seeing it as they move that way. Let me put pinpoint Doppler radar back on so you can actually see it, not the top of my head. There's the latest look, and you can see all that lightning that's there near Creston, and especially to the south between Lamoni and points just to the west. And as Camille was pointing out, the very intense amounts of lightning, vivid displays for areas east of Des Moines, riding along Interstate 80. Question, what will it be like in Tiffin, Iowa? So the question of the night is, of course, how long do these storms stay sustained? And that really has been the question of the day. Storms last night and that move through earlier in the morning hours really ate up a lot of the instability, a lot of the energy that storms have to be able to produce severe weather. And so that really has limited our threat here in eastern Iowa just a little bit. Now, obviously, It's not zero, and that's why that slight risk continues, and it's still a first alert day. But the overall risk a little bit lower, perhaps, than it otherwise might have looked. So we're going to take a look at Pinpoint Futurecast, try to answer that question a little bit, and give us perhaps an idea here of where things are headed within the next couple of hours. So by Tiffin, you're talking closer to 9:30 to 10 o'clock. But notice how as we go forward in time, this is where we're at right now. Generally, things do tend to weaken. Now, it takes a little time, and so we may end up seeing some of these warnings extend a little farther into the TV9 viewing area as we go later into the evening. But it's all going to depend on how well these storms hold together. Still a little bit of an open question at this hour. So that's where we are at 11. Luckily, it's really one round and then we'll be done. By 1 o'clock, we're talking about things really out of the area and far from it too. And then we'll see them continue to move off farther away, and then just much cooler air arrives. Now, we do have to wait until the cold front clears the area, which according to Pinpoint Futurecast doesn't happen until about 8 o'clock in the morning. So your morning commute could have some showers that hang around, but in terms of severe weather, just doesn't look that bad. Will there be any signs of tornadoes possible as those storms move toward Tiffin? Still looks like a pretty slim chance. I don't think we're going to count on that in terms of it being a sure thing. These storms continue to outrun their more significant ingredients as they move off to the northeast at about, well, let's time it out. Let's make sure we got the right. Last check was 45. Yeah, I'm saying about 45 miles per hour still in terms of some forward speed for this. So we'll add a storm track for the whole line, try to give folks that are a little bit farther down from this an idea of when to expect the strongest portions of these storms. So they're moving vaguely northeast. And so this takes us way out into the future. Marshalltown, of course, you're under that tornado warning, should be seeking shelter as storms with potential rotation will be moving very near your area. Then we get toward Tama at about 9:02, Van Horn at 9:39, Vinton closer to 9:43, North English, which of course we're going back south on the line here now, that's in northern Keokuk County, 10:12, Cedar Rapids at 10:20. This, based on the current trajectory, puts it towards Iowa City, which would be close to Tiffin a few minutes earlier, of course, at about 10:53. So 10:30 to 11 would be that time for the strongest storms in the Tiffin area. And then you get over toward Cascade at 11 and Dubuque at 11:24. One thing I want you to notice as well, tornado warning that was in effect for Marshall County has been allowed to expire. So instead, we're left with a severe thunderstorm warning that also goes until 9 o'clock. That will be for 60 mile per hour winds and nickel-sized hail. Nickel size, that's what that 0.88 is. Question from Geeky Greek asks, severe weather in Cedar Rapids. Take that timing, just gave you that, in terms of what to expect there. About 10:30-ish in the Cedar Rapids area. Severe weather possible, although at this point, not expecting a lot of it. Damaging winds and perhaps an isolated tornado still not ruled out, although at this point I think it's going to be more wind, rain, lots of lightning as storms move off to the east. You can see, though, the heaviest storms remain down to our southwest, well off to our southwest. Numerous severe thunderstorm, tornado warnings. They've been having a rough couple of days across western Iowa and even into eastern Kansas, northern Missouri. Northern Missouri has had 3 days in a row of really intense thunderstorms. Hopefully we can keep the tornado damage limited here, but you can see it's just kind of all up and down as this storm system moves through. But in Iowa, it's just that one severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now. Goes until 9 o'clock. Latest look at latest information. Let's see what the National Weather Service said. So far, continuing to monitor but they are not issuing additional warnings. The tornado warning that was in effect was canceled officially due to the circulation weakening. So that's how the National Weather Service sees it at this point. Could there be a tornado watch issued for Tiffin? There could. At this point, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it too much. Tornado watch, of course, just means conditions are favorable. And that is, of course, kind of where we're at right now in terms of, yeah, there are some conditions that are favorable for that. And so we couldn't fully rule out there being a watch extended for more of eastern Iowa. So far, so good on that front. Not seeing it just yet. But yeah, the area that the National Weather Service in Des Moines was watching was the area down here that we kind of highlighted earlier in terms of little bits of circulation along that line that could either produce a little bit of localized damaging wind or perhaps a quick spin-up tornado. Right now, they just don't think that conditions in those areas, conditions aren't all that favorable for that kind of development. Generally, we're seeing just this one line, but ahead of it, there's a couple of smaller storms, really small cell west of Fayette, so you could see some additional downpours there. No lightning. Lightning just all over the place in central Iowa, and so that will be moving into eastern Iowa too. Meteorologist Camille Dinka stepped away for a minute. Back. What?
Yep.
Yeah, no tornado warning.
No tornado warning. That is new since I had to do a little recording really quickly for one of our other stations.
Yeah,
But
so that's good news
yes.
there. But overall, the situation hasn't changed a ton.
No.
I'd say we probably weren't incredibly worried about tornadoes developing within that tornado warning, but it's just because it just looked that close. It was worth issuing.
Right. It's better to sometimes be safe than sorry. And when there's that little bit of rotation, National Weather Service is always going to err on whether or not the environment can end up producing that tornado. They saw that rotation. They thought it was the better option to make sure that people were prepared heading into their safe spaces. And so, yeah.
Now the question will be, with this severe thunderstorm warning, do they end up extending it into Tama, Poweshiek, those portions of the state? To be determined.
Right,
Yeah.
truly.
We'll all find out together. Sometimes it's just, we see what we see. National Weather Service sees what they see. Often, we're thinking the same things. I think reasonable people come to the same conclusions a lot of the time, but sometimes we are surprised, and so I guess we'll find out as they make that decision.
Yep. I mean, really with it is just the winds that these severe thunderstorm warnings would continue to be issued, is if they still think or are still getting reports of wind speeds reaching that severe level of 60 miles per hour or greater than that. So, I mean, hail hasn't been reaching severe level, which it would have to reach an inch for them to be issuing severe thunderstorm warnings for hail. So, again, just something National Weather Service likely going to continue to monitor as these storms start to head into portions of eastern Iowa. But yeah, wind, that main concern that we really have been talking about since yesterday. We knew wind was going to be that main threat from these storms.
Elena says in the YouTube chat, I just need the flight to get in from Minneapolis and I'll be fine. Boy, we're hoping.
Yes.
Could be a little interesting, depending on how late that flight gets into, I assume, Cedar Rapids. Storms will begin there about 10 to 10:30, and then after that, the general picture is of just more rain, but within that rain, there's lightning, there's wind potentially, so it could be a little bit of trouble. And remember, it's not just here, it's what's between Minneapolis and here.
Right.
So it could be a little interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even if we do take a glance up at what is across parts of Minnesota, they also, if you take a look, there's Minneapolis highlighted there. They're also seeing storms. We'll put lightning on there too once it loads in. Those storms have lightning in them too. So that line that you're likely going to be flying from Minneapolis to Cedar Rapids, if the flight takes off, which it sometimes will, they do end up taking off during storms, might be a little bit turbulent too, as those storms will tend to toss some planes around a little bit more. So might be in for a little bit more of a bumpy ride during that flight, and especially as you head into Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, exactly. So Good luck. I think things will be okay, of course, obviously. Pilots will make the right decisions for them and safety of the passengers, but hopefully we can get it in and just to save the headache, right?
Right, truly.
Yeah. Corey asks, and of course I'm obligated to treat all Corys with respect. What about Belle Plaine? That was the question. Marshalltown, of course, is seeing the storms right now. You can see here on the storm track, though, Belle Plaine about 9:30 is when these storms would be approaching from the west. So we've got that moving into that portion of, Belle Plaine right on the edge of Tama and Benton counties. In terms of severity of the storms, right now, if you took the line out, that would result in probably the strongest portion, the only portion that has a warning, probably staying just a bit north of Belle Plaine. Doesn't mean that we're not going to see storms, of course, but that's kind of the thought process there. Elena confirms it's not tonight that she's flying in. She is flying out tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So she needs the plane to be here for her for tomorrow morning, which is also, of course, a big deal. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, like you said, the pilots will make the right decision. Air traffic controls will make the right decision. But at this point, it might just be a little bumpy ride for those who do have to head to Cedar Rapids tonight.
Yes, and by tomorrow morning, things will be much, much quieter.
Yes.
And so that should not be an issue getting out as long as the plane's here. So
Yeah.
not a ton going on at this point in terms of big new developments. The National Weather Service has that one warning that goes for another 15 minutes that you see highlighted here for southern Marshall County. Camille, you're taking a look at that one little storm up near Fayette.
Yes, looking at Fayette, I'm just trying to pull up one of our city cams. Waverly, it is on the west side of the storm. Just trying to see if I can see anything on it through one of our other views that we have of it, but not really seeing a whole lot of it. A few strikes of lightning in that storm too. We see those pop in and out a few times. Likely just more so looking at some heavier downpours as that starts to move off to the north, heading towards Highway 18 and 150 as well. So heading towards West Union at this point.
Yes, yeah. Again, not severe. Probably that far north. Severe weather threat would be pretty low at this point. I didn't actually look too closely. Let me pull that up while we're speaking about it. I'm not sure. The Storm Prediction Center updates their severe weather outlooks multiple times a day. The last one of the calendar day is at about 7 o'clock this time of year. So let's see what they ended up doing. So the moderate risk that was in place for portions of Kansas and Missouri and far southwest Iowa is now reduced to an enhanced risk. That enhanced risk is where it has been, well, at least for the course of the daytime today. After this afternoon, there was a bit of a shift in that, pulled the orange area further to the west and the yellow area a little bit back too. You can see Dubuque not included as that has been moved away, as that overall threat for severe weather has come in a little bit lighter today than initially expected, especially if you were joining us within the last couple of days. That was a bit of a change. If you just started tuning in, rather, and seeing that change, that has been the shift. So that's where the Storm Prediction Center places the outlook for the rest of the night. Of course, an outlook is just an outlook. We have real storms going on, and so that will matter as well. Another question, when might it start raining in Dubuque? Taking a look at that, Camille.
Yeah, I was just pulling up Pinpoint Futurecast, so we can just kind of get a little bit of a timing situation on it.
Try pulling up the shorter one.
Shorter. Yes.
Yeah, the rapid update. So it had a pretty good, at least had an idea of these storms going on.
I was going to say this one's a little on the lighter side than what we're currently seeing.
Yeah, so we'll get an answer to you just as quick as we can. What is the available energy for storms in Lynn County like? Well, let's take a look while Camille's pulling Pinpoint Futurecast up. Here's where we stand in terms of energy for storms. As you can tell, there's not a ton. Let me pull up a different view of it. So there is some, but not a ton. Certainly not compared to way down south. And so as we were discussing earlier this afternoon on First Alert Weather Now, if you joined us at 4:30, you can tell the difference here. It's this area that's farther to the south where all that energy is being found, and that's where the threat has been higher today. Up north, we were able to get some into Iowa as we saw things dry out and things just kind of warmed up as much as they could with the amount of cloud cover that we had. However, it did not really recover all that much. And the reason why, you can see this big gap. This area here, just not a ton of energy left because of the showers and storms that moved through last night when you were here,
Right.
Camille.
Yes.
They just kind of hung around, took up a lot of that energy, lowered our dew points too.
Yeah.
We had really sticky conditions yesterday before those storms, and then they weren't that bad.
No, when I was leaving the station, it was 1:45 this morning. Storms were just heading into Cedar Rapids, so it was just a little sticky. But as this morning, really noticed that difference of just not as sticky. It was as heading into work, and that's definitely pretty nice. And that also helps us to kind of understand that the storms might not be as severe. You really want those more sticky conditions to happen for the potential for some stronger storms to happen. I do have Pinpoint Futurecast up to give a little bit of a timing on this. Here's 9 o'clock. That line of storms heading into Charles City, Waterloo, Tama, Oskaloosa, heading towards 380 as well there. Here's about 10 o'clock. That's that more widespread band. You're looking Decorah, Fayette, Manchester, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Washington, Mount Pleasant. And then heading off towards Dubuque right around 11 o'clock. So that's going to be the timing of that storm. Heading into Maquoketa too as well, and then it will continue to push off towards the Mississippi. It's that after that initial line of storms move through, we'll still get a few showers that linger in the area, but those aren't going to be to the level of severe in any way, just a little bit of some rain just to continue into that morning commute on Tuesday.
Yeah, for sure. You can see we've gotten some of the moisture back late this evening, just a little bit. Our dew points are down still. But they are not rock bottom. 64-degree dew point in Cedar Rapids, 64 in Waterloo, 65 down at Ottumwa. So not as sticky as last night for sure, but still humid enough and still enough that we're going to get plenty of rain potentially as these storms move through. It's the aspect of the severe weather threat that has been diminished a little bit because of that atmosphere just not having the same kind of ingredients, which is totally A-okay. So there's where we stand. One severe thunderstorm warning for another 10 minutes. It is off to our west. You can see that moving through the area of Marshall County, although the heaviest storms are now about to exit that warning. So we're kind of in the time frame where the National Weather Service in Des Moines will need to make a decision of what they're going to do.
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of discussion of whether or not they're going to continue to extend it.
Yeah, nothing so far, which is understandable. They're busy folks. But they'll need to make that decision pretty soon as things move off to the northeast. You can see Marshalltown seeing some rain, probably hearing plenty of thunder, but yeah, we still just takes a second sometimes for the lightning to pop in, and it didn't all just stop. I'll promise you that, but there we go. So yeah, plenty of thunder and lightning in the Marshalltown area for sure. But the heaviest rain, potentially some of the stronger winds, just about to move into that area here very, very soon. Then Tama would get involved, certainly in heavy rain. They're seeing storms developing off to their northeast. And then many more areas. Again, storms are likely. That's been the case, or that's where we've seen that chance stay with us, that storms remain likely. But severe weather, just not as likely.
Yeah, again, environment just not as favorable for these storms as they continue to move into it to be able to have any real go at getting some severe weather. Could see potentially maybe another severe thunderstorm warning through the night, but a lot of times as they start getting towards that period of time where they're not going to reach that severe level, which would be 60 miles per hour or hail sizes up to an inch, the National Weather Service might start to issue special weather statements instead. And so that's just something you would need to monitor. Your weather radio is not going to go off for those statements, but that would just be something that could potentially be seen through the night too. Just the National Weather Service sitting out a discussion of the potential for some stronger storms there across different parts of the area. But we'll see what they end up doing heading from the Des Moines National Weather Service area. Storms do eventually start to approach into a new office down in Davenport too. So how they end up starting to take these storms and handle them, we'll see that too through the night.
Yeah, and that does end up being some of the question too, is will we, what do we see from place to place?
Yeah.
At this point, that warning expires in about 7 minutes. So we'll have to wait and see what the decision is. Again, the heaviest part of that storm, the one that could be producing some of the stronger gusts, just about to, if it hasn't already approached Marshalltown. Overall, though, it's a healthy area of thunderstorms.
Yeah, definitely a good line. It looks very similar to what it was last night.
Mm-hmm.
And now also, as we approach that time period where we did last night, going to start to also diminish too. So.
Yeah. So you see, there's, it's got that shape to it. It's not quite like last night. So
No.
here's the shape of these storms tonight. Last night, they were really that bow shape that's got that push out from it, and that really does indicate that there's probably some winds. I know you were looking earlier today, Camille. A lot of the reports from northern Iowa from last night ended up being, at least initially, tornado reports. I haven't seen follow-up necessarily yet today from the National Weather Service. Of course, Des Moines has been busy as well, so they maybe haven't had a chance to get all the way up to northern Iowa to do some storm surveys just yet.
No, storm surveys, I know they had completed 4 of them today.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yes, but that was just from last night's storms. They still have, western and central Iowa have dealt with a lot of severe weather over the last 4 days. And so that was just from the storms of yesterday that they did storm reports on and have confirmed 4 EF1 tornadoes.
Okay.
All that data will be coming, it didn't end up coming in through tonight. And now they're dealing with these storms, likely not going to start to see that data until tomorrow. But when we were looking at weather now, I did see that they had confirmed 4 of them. Let me see if I can very quickly find it between all the information that we got from these storms currently. There was on the east side of Ventura, again, all of these are across of, this is northern Iowa that they sent this storm survey. East side of Ventura, and then the east-northeast crossing of I-35, where the second surveyed tornado was.
Okay.
So,
There you go.
just outside of our area.
There you have it. And the National Weather Service in Des Moines has made their decision. The warning for Marshall, Jasper, and a very far small sliver of Story County is going to be allowed to expire. The threat for tornadic development, or not tornadic development, severe thunderstorms, severe weather has diminished in their estimation. So this will go away at 9 o'clock in 4 minutes. No new warning to be issued, at least at this point.
Yeah,
Which is good news.
definitely. Yeah, it's something you want to see as we continue through that night. Would rather not see the potential for some severe weather happen, especially as it gets dark. It gets a little bit more dangerous of a situation where people can't see what's going on. So.
Camille, you're going to step away.
I am going to step away. I have to go do another show.
Yeah. Iowa
so-
Tonight starts at 9 o'clock on
Yes.
KCRG 9.3, the CW. If you'd like to see some live weather from that, that is a good spot to catch it. If you're watching us on our website or smart app live stream, you will be sent there automatically here in just a couple minutes. So go on. Thank you, Camille. We'll see you in a little bit. For the time being, we're going to stick with this in terms of live anchored coverage for a few more minutes. And then I will likely take a little bit of a break pending any new warnings, which of course could happen. One thing that we're noticing here, and it's one of those things that's a little bit difficult to see, but there is a little bit of a hint that some of the cool air from these storms is starting to get out ahead of some of the storms. And so it's this area here. There's a little bit of a darker line out ahead of it that's kind of emanating out from it. And so that's really the cool air pushing out ahead. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the storm is completely finished. But what it can start to do is undercut those storms a little bit. It can take away some of the risk in terms of severe weather. So that is a good sign there. And if that continues along more portions of the line, that means that the overall threat will continue to diminish. So that would be good news. A couple questions in the YouTube chat. Elena says, hey guys, does the storm last until 10 or 10:15 or 10:30? Anywhere in that time frame? Well, for the Cedar Rapids area, yes, potentially. The heaviest stuff, let's do a latest storm track. Make sure these storms are still moving about 40 to 45 miles per hour. We'll stick with 45 just to be sure. So that puts you toward the Cedar Rapids area, still about 10:15 to 10:30. So that would be around that time, unfortunately. So that's where it is in this pace. Also gets it down toward Iowa City about 10:45. And that's where we stand. Fernando asks, how's Marshalltown? I've had no reports of severe weather from Marshalltown. Just heavy rain, lots of lightning, could be some gusty wind, but with the severe thunderstorm warning being allowed to expire with no new additional issuance and the Weather Service saying that they believe that the storm is weakened, that's probably a good sign. Not expecting to hear much or many reports of damage from there at all, which is really, really good. Question as well from Mandy. Slow the movement down and say, what are we talking about for Grant County? Well, I can do you even one better. Let's take a look at where we are. And let's assume that everything is moving at about 45 miles per hour. So these storms, assuming that the northernmost edge moves about directly northeast, that would get to the far southern half of Grant County at about 11:20 to 11:40. That's kind of the vague measurement here. As we look northeastward from there, in terms of overall rain or even some of this lighter activity, that would be closer to 11 o'clock in the western portion of Grant County, and exiting, or the leading edge of it getting to northeastern Grant County, maybe toward 11:30, 11:45. So that is where that stands for our friends in southwest Wisconsin. But the likelihood is, oh, she said Grundy County, not Grant County, excuse me. In terms of Grundy Center, it does look like the heaviest storms will come close to Grundy Center. Lightning already there in the area. You may be hearing some of that, but the heaviest rain, if we take it on a line just to the northeast, I mean, it's going to be pretty close, but the heaviest stuff may miss out completely. So that's good news. No severe weather necessarily expected in Grundy County. Well, the area behind the front line produced more severe weather That is another question for Mandy. That looks pretty unlikely at this point. There is lightning. There's some rain embedded. Camille showed you earlier that the front is a little bit behind where this rain actually is, this a little bit ahead of the front. And we can illustrate that using a different view. Bear with me here. One of the ways to show that is the wind. And you can see we already are seeing these northerly winds out here in western Iowa, but even as far east as Fort Dodge, we're seeing some southeasterly winds, Clarinda too. Clarinda is well behind the front of the heavy storms right now. And so the cold front lags behind a little bit, but in terms of severe weather potential, when this one line moves through, that really is going to knock it out. There's really no expectation for severe weather after that, just because there will be no energy for those storms to work with at that point. Could there be severe storms once it gets to Tiffin, or will it already have weakened quite a bit? Likely still weakening, but we can't rule it out. So just stay weather aware, stay cognizant of any more warnings that could come out. Stay with us, and we will give you some more information. You're welcome, Mandy. Sorry, I was talking about Grant County first instead of Grundy County. That was my bad. All right, so just to recap, no severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings in effect for any portion of the state of Iowa. In fact, you can see a line of storms moving in from the west. It has plenty of lightning to go with it, plenty of heavy rain, but the severe weather threat at this point, at least in terms of imminent threat, has diminished. A tornado watch is in effect for the areas in yellow. The primary threat does appear still to be damaging wind. An isolated tornado can't be fully ruled out. This just includes Tama County down to Wapello County, as well as Marshall County. Marshall County, I would expect you would be eliminated from this watch very, very soon because the storms have moved through, and as we've been discussing, it really is a one and done situation. Highest severe weather threat still southwest of the area as of just an hour ago from the Storm Prediction Center. There still is some chance as these storms continue off to the northeast that we could see some additional severe weather, but the chance is diminishing. That does for sure. We are here for just at least a moment going to well, we're going to take a brief break, but stand by for just a moment. All right, we should be back with you guys. There is an area that we want to show you in terms of some change in how things have been presented on radar. It's right here just southwest of Tama, and it's going to be a little hard to illustrate without using our velocity view. I'm going to turn a couple of different looks here. It's not the It is rotating down this way, south of Gilman, west of Sheridan, just about to cross into Poweshiek and Tama counties. Nothing from the National Weather Service in Des Moines at this point. This is their area of responsibility. And there is a new tornado warning. The studies include portions of the TV9 viewing area, so we will be taking a brief pause to join folks on TV. Stand by. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Corey Thompson in the First Alert Weather Lab with an update on a new tornado warning that includes portions of Tama and Poweshiek County. This goes until 9:45 this evening for radar indicated rotation. Now it's embedded within a line of storms. The rotation came up very quickly. It's currently in northeastern Jasper County, but will be, or rather northwestern portions of Poweshiek County. You'll be moving to southern Tama County very soon. Again, this goes until 9:08 this evening. Areas included within this include Sheridan, Tama, Elberon, Toledo, of course, also included as this area of rotation moves off to the northeast. We're going to show it to you here on pinpoint Doppler radar very quick. It is off into portions of far northwest Poweshiek County and moving off to the northeast as this storm is moving northeasterly at about 45 miles per hour. Let's put a storm track on this for folks that are in the path of this storm as it moves that direction. And that would take it up toward, well, let's update now that we have the latest scan from pinpoint Doppler radar. This is the area of rotation just southeast of Gilman and moving to the northeast. So this at 45 miles per hour takes it close to Tama at about 9:22. Areas near Long Point at 9:26, Chelsea close to 9:31, Vining at 9:34, and Elberon on the eastern edge of this warning at about 9:39. Again, it's radar indicated rotation. This rotation is embedded within an area of heavier rain, and so you will not be able to see it out ahead of this storm in most circumstances. And of course, we've lost a lot of light from the daytime, and so that would be very difficult to see as well. So that's where we stand in terms of this warning. If you are contained within this warning, you will want to take certain steps to help keep yourself safe. They are, of course, the same safety tips that we give each and every time. Get to the lowest level of your home. We mean portions of the lowest floor. Basement, if you have one, of course, is the best option. Get under something sturdy like a workbench, a desk, anything that would help to protect your head and neck in particular. And to that end, we strongly suggest getting something like a blanket, a pillow, or a otherwise set of towels. Avoid windows, doors, and outside walls in particular too. Those, of course, would be particularly susceptible to damage. Outside walls are the ones that get damaged first in a weaker tornado, and then that's why we say put as many walls between you and the storm as you can. If you don't have a basement, a small interior room on the most interior portion of the home is your best bet, and so we strongly encourage you to get to that as soon as you possibly can. If you live in a mobile home, your best bet is to abandon it. Get to somewhere safe that is designated by the folks that run your mobile home development, or to a shelter as soon as you can. Mobile homes offer very little protection, if any at all, from a tornado if you were to take a direct hit. So this tornado warning goes until 9:45. That's for another 34 minutes here. It does include northern Poweshiek County and southern Tama County. And recall, it's this portion that is southwest of Tama that in particular we are watching. It's an embedded area of rotation. It is tight enough that there is the potential for tornadic development within it. It's passing just over Highway 146 and will be approaching Highway 63 from the west here fairly soon. Latest information from the National Weather Service, they believe that just because that rotation picked up, that they have that warning in place. No reports, fortunately, from this storm, or really any of the storms we've been kind of tracking here across central Iowa. That's the good news, that we don't have any tornado reports there. So that's the good sign for portions of Tama and Poweshiek County. Again, northeasterly motion is what we're seeing with these storms. We're going to show you here on our sort of traditional radar view what we're talking about as well. It is moving off to the northeast at 45 miles per hour, so quick motion. If you live in Tama or Toledo, we really strongly suggest that you will be moving into that area very soon in terms of the highest threat for tornadic development. Anywhere near Highway 30, if you live in rural areas of Tama County along Highway 63, you should be seeking shelter immediately as well. That would be the areas that are in imminent threat. If you live in the eastern half of Tama County, that would also be another area to keep a very close eye on in terms of this threat for tornadic development. This warning, of course, because it is radar indicated, doesn't mean that you shouldn't take it as seriously as you would for one that has a tornado report with it. All tornado warnings should be taken with seriousness and with a quick action to protect yourself. That is, of course, what we always recommend. It's this area of rotation that is, again, just crossing now from Poweshiek into Tama County. This radar scan from Pinpoint Doppler radar is a few minutes behind at this point, waiting on new data to come in. It does look like that there may be some broadening of the rotation as it moves away. It was a pretty quick spin up, but it certainly was a fairly tight spin up for a period of time, and that's why that tornado warning was issued by the National Weather Service. So if you live in Chelsea at 9:31, this storm will be very close to you, Vining at about 9:34, and then Elberon still on target for about 9:39 in terms of when this storm could approach your area. A tornado watch continues for several counties in eastern Iowa in terms of an imminent or at least possible threat of some storms to produce tornadic activity. The primary threat with these storms tonight has been damaging winds, but these quick spin-ups along the front edge of the line have been something that the National Weather Service has been concerned about. And we know from past experience that they can quickly turn into situations that do produce a tornado, at least for a brief amount of time. And because these storms are moving pretty quickly at about 50 miles per hour, 45 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour, that doesn't make it a fairly quick moving, and so it could cover a lot of ground within that small period of time. So again, it's just a single warning. Tama County and Poweshiek County, plenty of thunderstorms taking place elsewhere, plenty of lightning within these storms, which is a good indication of a healthy or a particularly strong storm. And so that is another indicator that we're seeing some potentially significant storms moving through these areas. Fortunately, no new reports of severe weather at this stage. And the rotation within the storm, as we switch back over to our velocity view, is starting to broaden out at least just a little bit. You can see it's just west of Sheridan, and some of the latest information that we're getting is that perhaps the rotation has advanced to areas closer to here that we indicate with our rotating icon here. And that would be putting it in far southern Tama County, still southwest of the Tama-Toledo area, but you are right in line with where those storms are moving. So we would strongly encourage folks there to still seek shelter. Chelsea would be very much in line with this too, and you can see the latest sweep from Pinpoint Doppler radar shows that some of that rotation has weakened a bit, which is good, but it's not completely gone. There's still enough rotation in this area of the storm, as we were just showing you, that there could still be the potential for a tornado to spin up, but it's not as intense looking in terms of rotation. We'll take it back here a few minutes. You can see if that warning was issued. Those reds and greens were closer together. Of course, reds are winds going away from the radar site. Greens are winds coming toward it. And so where they meet and are particularly compact like this, that's why that tornadic development would be possible. If we show you the more traditional view of radar here, this is the kind of signature that we look for there within a line of storms, where the line curls a little bit out ahead of it. And that's what we're seeing here on this more traditional view of our radar. And so that offers at least some potential for rotation within that. So that is why this warning continues. Still waiting for new information from the National Weather Service, as at this point, after the warning was issued, we haven't heard a lot from them. Checking on information from the Quad Cities. They're monitoring these storms as well. They're responsible for the counties to the east here in Benton and Iowa County. They're keeping an eye on things as these storms progress. But at this point, it's the one tornado warning for portions of Tama and Poweshiek counties that continues until 9:45. Radar indicated rotation that frankly has weakened quite a bit, but still enough radar indicated rotation there that the potential for a little bit of tornadic development not fully ruled out. If not, the threat for some gusty winds will be there as these storms move through. If we end up with just some of this stronger wind coming out from the southern side of this storm, that would be what we could see there, and that would lead to the potential for some isolated wind damage. There's some indication that there are very strong winds there. But in terms of the imminent tornadic threat, that at this point is not as strong as it once was. Checking on some new information from the National Weather Service, we have communication with them on the internet with a chat service that we use between here and there. Lets us stay in touch with them, and they are about to provide some more information, so we're going to see what they end up deciding to do here. In terms of arrival times, though, let's go ahead and put another storm track on this and give you a bit of an indication. The storm moving fairly quickly, and it looks like the area of rotation is going to stay a little bit to the south of Tama, Toledo. Doesn't mean necessarily you should exit your safe shelter if you are in it, but the threat for tornadic activity may have decreased a little bit there, which is good to hear. Unfortunately, that threat, at least in some manner, persists farther to the northeast of this area. Chelsea at about 931, Vining close to 934. Elberon, this has stayed very consistent, close to 939. Keystone, which is not included in this warning, but it would be approaching, the storms at the very least, would be approaching your area at about 946. Plenty of lightning in these storms as well. We have detailed that on numerous occasions this evening in terms of seeing that lightning. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the more traditional radar view. And our strike counter, you can see on the upper left corner of your screen, the number of lightning strikes within just the last 15 minutes as we pull back here. Along this line of storms, we're talking about several hundred lightning strikes. And lightning is a killer as well. So that is a thing that you will want to stay indoors from, even if there are no severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings as these storms move off to the northeast. The lightning alone can be very risky if you're caught out in it. So if you are hearing this or know folks that are out and about, maybe not a bad idea just to let them know that storms are on the way and they could be producing heavy rain and lightning for many folks. And so let's go ahead and put a storm track on this main line of storms as it moves to the northeast. Just because we are doing this storm track doesn't mean that these areas will receive severe weather as we go through the evening, but heavy thunderstorms at the very least look pretty likely. So Traer, you are not in this tornado warning, but it'd be about 9:28 that the heaviest of these storms approach. You're already seeing some in your area. Vinton at about 9:56. Williamsburg closer to 10:08. Independence at about 10:13. Cedar Rapids really on target for about 10:30 tonight for this line of storms getting there. Monticello at 10:58. And Cassville, far southwest Wisconsin, that's closer to 11:18. Now the good news is that these storms should begin a weakening trend as they move farther to the east. We've seen that as a likelihood today. We're really not going to see big, persistent storms that will last well into the night, at least as far as we can tell at this point, because of the general lack of energy for these storms to work with the farther east that you go. But some of that energy is present in central Iowa, and that's why a tornado warning continues. For portions of Tama and Poweshiek counties, this goes until 9:45. Large hail, not very likely at this point, based on the assessment from the National Weather Service. I tend to agree with that. Their warning doesn't include any hail risk. If there is rotation in this storm, it's going to be located very close to the area of Highway 63, and will be moving just east of Highway 63 into that portion of Tama County near and south of Highway 30 and east of 63. Those are the two areas to see in terms of sort of landmarks, sort of major highways in that area. You see the latest sweep here from Pinpoint Doppler radar. Really not a ton of obvious rotation here like we had earlier this evening. And for that reason, the National Weather Service in Des Moines has allowed this tornado warning to be canceled. Their latest statement says that the rotation has weakened. The storm is no longer severe. Imminent threat for tornadic development is no longer there. So the tornado warning canceled. A tornado watch continues for a few of our western fringe counties until 10 o'clock. You can see that on the lower right corner of your screen with the updated First Alert maps there. We will continue to monitor this storm here in the First Alert Weather Lab. Meteorologist Camille Dinka is with me here as well. She is going to be helping as we go through the evening, keeping an eye on these storms. For now, though, we are going to send you back to regular programming. If conditions warrant, we will be back as soon as a new warning is issued. Otherwise, the KCRG TV9 News at 10 is right around the corner. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG TV9. All right, friends that are still with us on the YouTube channel, KCRG YouTube channel, we are still monitoring these storms with you. Apologies to folks in the chat on YouTube. We are kind of unable to interact with you when we're on KCRG TV9 instead. So that tornado warning has been canceled. The rotation was brief. It spun up pretty quickly. Luckily happened in pretty rural areas. And so we are happy to see that it has weakened. And so we are back to no warnings. Meteorologist Camille Dinka joins me again from her time on Iowa Tonight. And things are good.
Yes, definitely good. Saw that the tornado warning happened, got issued, but glad to see that rotation ended up just kind of like popping up, going away. Otherwise, just kind of watching those storms continue to push across eastern Iowa now more so than they were before. We were in Iowa Tonight, and so definitely starting to see that now here across eastern Iowa.
Yes. So we are going to give you kind of one rundown here of what we're seeing. And that's the broad view. Let me turn it on to more of a sort of composite view here using different radars to show you where all the rain is. So there's the view of the state of Iowa. No warnings in effect except for a flash flood warning in far southern Iowa. That is it. And these storms, you notice that they were a bit more of a solid red line and they started this loop. And then you can see now it's not as solid. Still some indication that they are generally weakening. But as we just saw not that long ago, it doesn't take a lot for a little bit of an area of rotation to quickly spin up. And so as long as this is in a line and over the next hour or so, I would say, that would probably be the primary threat in terms of seeing any sort of additional activity like that. You have a view of a city cam?
I was just pulling up Decorah because that single cell up across northern Iowa is heading towards that way. Let me get this up here. Oops, let's get rid of this data here. Saw a few lightning flashes across the horizon there, but you do start to see some wet pavement in Decorah. So storms are starting to approach that area. They do have lightning within them. Not seeing any warning on these, obviously, so not seeing super gusty conditions out of these. Winds still could be a little breezy as it heads into the area. You do see that flag waving pretty good on that city cam, so that wind speed could be impacting you as that storm heads into that area, but it is just that kind of more single cell that's up across northern parts of Iowa in just north of Fayette heading into Decorah at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So that's where we stand right now. A couple of questions. Aldo asks, can average folks get storm spotter training? Yes.
Yeah.
There's an online situation that I think you can do just about any time. They had guided classes, but I think if you Google National Weather Service storm spotter training or your search engine of choice, you should be able to track that down. It's usually done in the spring. I think there are sort of things you can look at there all the time. They said they do want to get involved in emergency management. I believe there are certain classes you can take for that too.
Yeah.
In terms of becoming an emergency manager, or there would be something, maybe reach out to your local emergency management office, email them, see what they think on that line. Another question, how do you find a tornado on radar? Well, what we were showing you just a little bit ago involves looking at the velocity views, looking for those winds that are kind of going in opposite directions based on the radar, and that can imply rotation.
Yeah, when you see those greens and those reds that are right next to each other, that's something that we are looking for that rotation. That's what we're really looking at in those velocities. Sometimes we call them hook echoes. There's like a little hook that storms can do that also can give a little bit of an indication to us that there might be some rotation there too.
Yeah, a couple of other tricks in the tool bag, but that's those are what we're working with. So we are going to take a break from live anchored coverage here for a little bit, get our ducks in a row. There are no warnings in effect in eastern Iowa, so that's good news there. Instead, we will be putting things together for the KCRG TV9 News at 10 for a little while. So thank you for being with us. We will, of course, still be monitoring things very carefully here in the First Alert Weather Lab. But for now, we're just going to send things over. We have this information. You can stick with us. We'll jump in as necessary and give you all the latest as we need. But thank you.